Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside Your Screen podcast bite size, where we're talking everything Snowpiercer. This is episode 5, Justice Never Boarded. I'm with my fellow co-host, Brennan Horgan. How are you doing, sir? Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Tony. How are you?
I'm not too bad.
I like that title. I didn't notice the title.
Justice Never Boarded,
Justice Never Boarded.
It makes sense for this particular episode because this is literally there's a lot of things going on, but this is essentially the trial of LJ, isn't it? Sort of thing. So, but also in the same respect of like justice is predominant to the first class area.
That's the way it would seem.
That's the way it would seem until things happen. But we'll get into that. Let's kind of like backtrack a little bit because we had a few kind of predictions. I personally was saying that, where's the episode? We both said, like, where's the episode going to go to? Because Layton's in the drawer now. He's in the Sleepy Time Demolition Man Sleepy drawer. So where would this episode pick up? And I think you quite rightly called it. It was Audrey, who's the narration of the intro on this one, the nightclub or night car owner, if you will, or the person who is the kind of, she is the epitome of the nightclub or the night car owner personage. She was doing the intro.
Yeah, and she represented third class.
And third class, yes.
Yeah, so I think we've covered all the classes except for first, because I think we're going on the presumption. Yeah, let's not worry about it. But yeah, third class.
It's just an interesting little tidbit because like every episode is being narrated by a certain class, and I think maybe they'll probably loop back on themselves. Like maybe it'll be Layton next time or something like that. But it's a nice little. I don't know. I just like the little intro sort of
totally, and
stuff like that. It's nice,
and it introduces us almost to a new element of the train or a new kind of world. Even though we'd seen. The night train. Is that what they call it? The night car?
The night car, yeah.
We didn't really know her story, and we didn't, have how close she was.
We don't really know her story.
But she kind of, it was more the kind of, here is the standpoint more that's probably a better way of putting it, of the third class. Here we are the third class, the way we had Jodie in the tale, we're going to rebel. You kind of had so
there was a moment where she meets up with Melanie in the they're alone together, and she basically says it's almost like a confrontation. And she does say to her, like, she gives Melanie an ultimatum in that respect of like, you kind of get a bit of a backstory to Melanie's character. Maybe Melanie was in the third car as well, because she had this Miss Audrey had this kind of vision of like the night car being this kind of like, neutral zone where nothing, everything can happen in first class and second class and third class. But, the night car is where anything goes, but also it's neutral. It's a Switzerland sort of like thing. Yeah. And there's one thing that she says to her, which is like, essentially, I forget what the actual wording is, but she kind of like says like, you're the mouthpiece of Wilford. Because the whole tribunal thing, because everyone knows that like if LJ goes on trial with just the kind of first class, then it will just be like a sham. It'll be like a show trial type tribunal. So she kind of like, she has this big thick kind of book that is like the kind of the Snowpiercer Bible probably.
Yeah, there is actually a Snowpiercer rule book.
Yeah, I did like that. I like that little element to it. But she kind of like points to one point and says like, hey, there needs to be like a representative or I can argue for the case of having a petition to have a representative from like the third car, the second car, the first car, so we have a fair judicial trial going on. And Melanie's kind of like, swayed by that. But you also kind of get the feeling in that conversation that there is something there, like maybe in the past that Melanie was perhaps part of the night car, or she was in this kind of same vein as Audrey. No. I got that kind of vibe.
No, so I think
she said that, like, your dream was to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think what it was obviously what that's hinting at, and what I kind of got from that scene in that conversation was that, the night car wasn't, a already established thing on the train. and it seems that it was, what is this character's name again, Tony?
Miss Audrey.
Miss Audrey. So what I got from that was kind of Miss Audrey had this idea, and Melanie, as the kind of representative of Wilford, was, she was the one who implemented that idea. So that's kind of what I got, where it was almost like, this wasn't just my vision because you helped me create this. That's kind of what I'm more, not necessarily that Melanie was, it was that Melanie helped her create it, because anything that, in essence, I suppose, other than the tale, everything kind of must go through Wilford, and hence
that's true.
Through Melanie.
She was like maybe just trying to appease certain kind of like parts of the carriages.
Totally. I think, and I think that's something really interesting about exactly that. That's a really good, like, exactly that. Melanie kind of has to have that appeal to, all the classes,
all kinds of the classes. Yeah.
And she obviously, it was something that Miss Audrey clearly admired about her. There was, you can see there's kind of a respect there. So that kind of conversation I kind of read as that kind of like, listen, you were part of this, you created this, so you know what we stand for. So you have to stick up for us, because otherwise, and it's, again, it's that Melanie trying to balance it all. Yeah.
So going back a little bit then, so Layton, we actually start the episode with like a Layton dream, if you will. A trippy dream where he's like going to, well, this is obviously like a flashback, really. He's dreaming about something that's happened before, where, there's something going on in the tail end section. He's being kind of given a kind of meat cleaver. He has to go to the front. We'll get into that later, because those dream sequences are kind of like scattered throughout the kind of episode. But then we kind of cut to LJ in her cell. And I thought there was an element of her kind of sociopathic, spoilt child thing that kind of goes on here. There's something that she says to what's the guy's name?
We got it last week.
Roach. I know, we keep on forgetting his name, and I feel bad about this.
Hold on.
Roach. Roach.
Yeah.
He says, like, I know who you're, like, Roach says, once again, he's eating his little lunch, and he goes, I know who your parents are. And she just like cold eye stares at him and says like, no, you don't, but you will. It's that kind of like foreshadowing that you're like, oh man, she's a bad egg. She really is a bad egg. And there's a lot of little things going on in between the panels, if you will. Like, Till's getting a chip for an upgrade. Like she's moving in with,
Till's now a second-class citizen.
She's a second-class citizen. And as soon as I saw that, I just thought this is going to be a plot device for something later on.
It's going to end badly.
This is going to end badly.
With Jinju. Badly for Jinju and Till. It's not going to work out. Sorry.
And you saw the kind of like later on when, they're in Dr. Klimp's, when they're trying to, when the kind of the tail end section are trying to sort of, Josie's trying to get Layton out of the drawer, and you see, the Oz and Bez, they interrupt her, and she basically uses her truncheon. Like, you can see that, like, this is it's not going to end well with the chip being in her wrist. The second class citizenship, if you will, is not gonna last very long, I think.
Till is definitely one of my favourite characters so far. Yeah. She seems to be definitely probably one of the most open-minded on the train. Even though, I'm assuming she was third class, she's now moving up to second class. But obviously she's one of the brakemen, so she's kind of security on the train. She's part of the system. She works for the system. But she grew a bond with Layton. She kind of has sympathy for the tale. And I think it's that kind of empathy, that kind of, I really like that side of Till, which is why I think it's going to end really badly for her.
Yeah, and it's shown once again when Oz is like giving his little speech when obviously the trial is about to happen.
We thought Oz as in Brakeman Oz, yeah. We either we've got it completely wrong with his accent, but all of a sudden he's from the north this week.
Yeah.
I could have sworn he was Cockney.
Well, I thought he was Cockney as well. Yeah, there's a point where he's dressing like, so when the trial's about to happen, and there's obviously like a lot of like third class sort of people coming to the front, and he gives this kind of speech to say like, hey, you're going up here now, you may not be aware of like certain things like, you know, hygiene and like don't spit on each other and shit like that. And he's giving this kind of almost really kind of 1984, you know, boot down on your neck sort of like speech, and you can see Tills is sitting there going like, oh, get off the chair type of thing. But yeah, his accent is wavering slightly, shall we say, in a nice way.
I just think we might have got it wrong, and just
maybe we have.
I don't
maybe
know.
we have.
I'm not gonna. I might go back and listen to some of the previous episodes.
But then we also are part of it. Like we said in the last episode as well, that because Layton's on ice, you know, figuratively and literally, we're getting to see other characters, and we're getting to see like a lot of other different characters' backgrounds a little bit, much like Melanie letting off some steam. You know, with her engineering boyfriend, Bennett Knox, or, you know, are they boyfriend, girlfriend? Are they just like a release for each other? Because there is a certain aspect that, you know, there's a point where, you know, Jennifer Connolly, very, very beautiful woman, you know, and she goes off and she just lets off some steam. And there's a point where Knox, the engineer, turns around and says like, oh, we haven't done that since the bees died or something like that, which leads you to believe that, you know, they haven't had sex for quite a while, since the last incident or the last like catastrophic type of incident. So you kind of get the feeling that, you know, she's once again losing control certain ways, and the only, you know, she's trying to just grasp a bit of humanity where she can.
Yeah, this episode really, on the whole, was almost, it was pretty much her story, really. I know. Yeah, we kind of had an awful lot of the focus on the trial, don't get me wrong, but the main kind of theme I thought that run throughout this was the theme of Melanie losing control and desperately trying to hold on to control.
Well, I think she's been steadily losing control throughout the whole series, and this is the point now where it's getting to the point of, it's getting to crack time, you know?
Yeah, this episode really highlighted that, hence why we got to the scene with Knox. You know, she needed to, you know, to let off some steam, and she, you know, and because it's all seems to be falling apart, like you said, from the very first start of the episode. She has her run-in with Miss Hughes, I've forgotten her name, with Miss Audrey. She's got the tension there with Miss Audrey. Then she's got the trial. She has her kind of Miss Audrey wants the third class, you know, to kind of have a part of this, of the vote. She then speaks to the what's the family called, LJ's family, the Folgers. She speaks to the Folgers, and the Folgers are very kind of clear about, you know, you better look after us, you know, and otherwise you'll face the consequences.
Well, that was I think one of the pivotal scenes of this episode. So basically, LJ is going on trial. She's been convicted of essentially, I don't know what they say, murder.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's murder essentially. And this whole trial is, talking about how she's effectively, this first class passenger has orchestrated the deaths of 5 people, I guess?
No, I think she was only actually in the episode. I don't know how many people have died in total, but she was only charged with the death of 2.
Nikki Janae and Sam.
No, with the 2 guys who had their dicks castrated.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it was because the main evidence was, and that was something that wasn't revealed. We didn't realize that she had their dicks in her cupboard.
Yeah. Yeah. But it kind of takes a kind of certain bleak twist, because obviously when the trial's going on, LJ reveals in her kind of like statement that she knows more, or she knows what Sam, because we knew that Sam was an informant. So maybe Sam told her certain things, and you can see that in the kind of face of Melanie, and therefore she kind of has this kind of whole preemptive act of, you know, sending a kind of I don't want to call it like tube, a note through a tube to like the first to the engine of the train, or the console of the train, to kind of say like, oh, you need to say this when the verdict goes down. And the whole thing is like, she's exempt now. LJ is exempt because she obviously knows more. And then Melanie takes him to a side room and then says like, what did Sam tell you? And that's when you kind of get the feeling that LJ, like, she's like, got you bitch. You know, it was like, oh well, he might have told me some stuff, he might not. I don't know what's gonna happen. Brr. And it's almost like,
well, she says she knows about the what do they call them? They're not we initially called them the freezers, but they're not.
The drawers.
The drawers.
He's in the drawers, yeah.
So she said, how you know, LJ, I forget the exact line, but she says something to Melanie about, you know, what do I know about all the people in the drawers?
So there's obviously stuff that, I mean, Melanie.
We had our reveal. We had a slight reveal as well earlier on in the episode with the doctor.
Dr. Klimt.
With Klimt and Jinju and Melanie, which was again revealed, but you know, the fact of what do they know, and Melanie uses the line, do they now know that the drawers are experimental? So he also goes into the fact that, you know, so I think LJ knows quite a lot about the drawers, knows the fact that I'm assuming that the passengers think that the drawers are some kind of established system that works, where clearly it's not. It's an experiment that they're running. They don't know, you know, we're looking at, they're feeding these guys drugs to put them in a coma, but keep them alive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not really established, is it? Like, we don't really know how much like people know about like the kind of judicial system on board of Snowpiercer. Like, you get the feeling that, you know, that everyone knows that, like, you know, if you commit a crime, you go to, like, you get suspended on ice. Like, I think that's a kind of given across the board. But also at the same time, there's obviously, like, because you know, Josie, you know, there's a whole, once again, there's a subplot with Josie going off to find Layton, to rescue him, to kind of get him out from the drawers. And she opens up a few drawers, like, before she obviously goes to Terrence, who's like the kind of kingpin of third class, and asks for his help to get in the kind of Dr. Klimt's office or Dr. Klimt's lab to get to, like, the drawers, and then starts really just randomly opening drawers here, there, and everywhere. And you see, like, there's children in there. You see there was one drawer, the first drawer that she opened was an Asian girl. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know who that was. Do you know who that was? Was that meant to be someone that we knew? Or was that meant to be like a kind of, someone from my past that, you know?
No, I think that was, again, it was just that they were people from the tail who she obviously... Just
from the tail, yeah.
Who she thought were dead, possibly. So.
Okay, that's fine then. But, you know, obviously it comes to a kind of point where she's just... And this is one of the minor kind of plot points of this episode, which I didn't appreciate that much, because it was like, okay, Melanie kind of says in some kind of arbitrary way that, you know, there's 400 drawers available. And we're just meant to expect that Josie kind of like just finds Layton just willy-nilly kind of style, just by opening drawers. I found that a little bit like, bit of a plot hole, but okay, we can get past that. Anyway, my point being is she does find him. And obviously because of the previous episode with Nikki, and obviously there's a very kind of throwaway line. Once again, it's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina sort of thing when they go like, oh, we can't let people just come out of the drawer suspended isolation because we need to give them time. And this gives us the kind of thing where Layton, as soon as she takes off like a kind of Fitbit off his wrist, he starts having like a seizure, and it's like, oh no, it's the wrong thing to do. Which I found quite hilarious, to be honest with you, because he's only like, we don't know how much time has passed since the last episode, but we imagine it's not that long. So is it like a kind of you know, when you're on ice, when you like, is it just, what does that mean? Like, for the person who's put under, does that mean eternity, or does it mean like, you know, well, you've actually been in there for like a couple of days, therefore if I thaw you out, it's not going to be that long? That was the thing that I was like, no, okay, not too sure about that. But anyway, sorry, I rambled a bit there. But then, yes, obviously she's, you know, trying to revive Layton, and then Bess and Oz come in. They see the door is ajar, and then they see the kind of the drawer is ajar, and they find Oz goes into his like, oh, you Taylor, I'm gonna have you, yeah. And Bess does something quite. She knocks Oz out. Well, the beat that she gave him, you thought actually that she killed him. They help Layton back into the third class and give him to Zara. And I thought at that point, like, we can't really trust Zara, can we? why are you giving Layton to Zara? Because I don't know. And he goes through like a bit of a withdrawal symptom, very, very, very Train Spotting-esque. I was expecting like a baby on the top of the carriage to like, be crawling along the kind of like, and then turn its head and then fall on him. But hey, that's me. So a lot of stuff going on as much as, the trial is going on as well. One kind of point of this that I kind of just was actually the most unnerving part of this episode is when LJ is like a spoiled, narcissistic, sociopathic brat and says, like, before she goes on trial, she says to her father, "Oh, can I do the thing?" And he's like, "Okay." And he just pops out of his eyeball and gives it to her. And then she sucks it.
Yeah.
And then she has this kind of moment where she's like playing this really like childish game where she has the eyeball, her father's eyeball, fake eyeball in her mouth. Yeah. And she's doing this kind of like, "Oh, you can't see me." And then later on, we find out that she was the one who plucked his eye. Like she basically
with a fork.
Yeah. Which I just was a great kind of was a great story kind of way of like, at the very beginning when the father goes like, "Oh, it's okay." The mother, what's her name? What's the mother's name? Audrey? No, not Audrey. What's the mother's name? Lila. When Lila sort of goes like, "Oh, we don't have time for this," and the father's like, "No, it's fine. You're thinking like something, okay, this is a bit weird, but then he just pops his eyeball out, gives it to her, and then she puts it in her mouth. And I was just thinking, oh man, there's some kind of weird shit going on with this first class family. I just thought is in keeping with her character. And then later on, when Lila has the confrontation with Melanie, when Melanie's saying, if you're doing stuff behind closed doors, don't do it. And then Lila's like, she has this fantastic line where she basically turns around and she says like, "Oh, you're messing with my bloodline. Yeah. You're gonna have vengeance is gonna come down on you," sort of thing.
Yeah, something that was made very clear, very, very clear in this episode is that the Folger family are fucked up.
Oh yeah.
They are not normal. Just the whole scene with the Lila, was that her name? Lila Folger?
Lila, the mother, yeah.
Lila explaining to Melanie the scene of LJ taking out her husband's eye, and it is really kind of like evil personified. So they are a weird, fucked up family. So I'm intrigued to see just how fucked up they are, because I think we're going to find out a little bit more about
I think we're going to find out a lot more. As Lila said, like, prepare to suffer the consequences because you're fucking with my bloodline.
Yeah.
Like, that was a great line.
Yeah.
I mean, she must have relished, like the actress must have relished that line when she said that sort of thing. And it's completely, given, because once again, we're talking about the kind of like the breakdown of, and I said in the last episode that I think there's going to come a point where, Melanie's going to come to and you can see like she's been losing control consistently throughout each episode. She's been trying to, maintain balance and order through this chaos that's been going on. And slowly but progressively, you see it breaking down. And I love that. I do love the fact that we're seeing that kind of, and I want to be there when she snaps. And I hope it happens, because
I don't think it will.
You don't think it will?
No, but I have a theory on that.
Go on, tell me your theory.
My theory is that just when we think Melanie is about to collapse and lose the plot and they just fucking lose it, is where she says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wilford would like to speak to you in person." And in walks Wilford. And that's probably the last episode of the series. Curtains out, tune in for season 2.
No, I think Sean Bean will make a kind of cameo appearance on the last episode, because we know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I said.
Oh, like you think he'll like?
So as in, just when we think Melanie's lost the plot.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And it's like, what is Melanie gonna do? Like, it will almost be like, you know what? And this is again, we're going 5 episodes into this is a kind of finale prediction, and I'm sure before the season is out I will have a lot more predictions for how the season will end, right? But I could see that the final season, that final episode, and kind of it's just about to revolt because they're all turning around to Melanie. They're saying, there is no Mr. Wilford, you're Mr. Wilford. Mr. Wilford dead, prove it to us, prove it to us. The door opens and in walks Sean Bean. Hello,
in comes Sean Bourne.
Exactly.
Bastards. And I would love if the first word he said was bastards. That would be great. But all right, quick question then for you. We'll wrap this up soon, Brendan. But
also, quick question for you. Who's on the list? And what is the list?
Yeah, that's true.
That was one of the the last things we saw in the episode was Melanie revealing, what if she knows about the list?
What do you think the list is, Brendan?
I don't know. I think the list is probably a list of people they want to experiment in the box, whatever they're trying to do with these people in the drawers. I don't know, but the list is probably people who have been put in the drawers. The list is the people who they thought were dead who are actually in the drawers, and one of them is Mr. Wilford.
So there's a point where Melanie and the engineer Knox are, making the beast with two backs. But afterwards, post coitus, shall we say, they're talking about things that they miss, right? And he says, like, I miss the sound of rain and stuff like that. My question to you, Brendan, is: would you rather be born on Snowpiercer, so you wouldn't know the things that you're missing, or would you rather be like someone who came on board?
Good question. And
then knew the kind of things that you would miss, but then also appreciated the fact that, you know what I mean?
No, because you asked the same thing, but I think I know. No. Do you mean if would I rather be born on board, or would I rather have memories? Yeah. I'd rather be born on board, because I'd hate to live in a scenario like that, knowing what the outside world was like.
Yeah,
so I'd rather be born on the train.
See, I don't know.
Probably in first class.
You'd never be first class, Brendan.
I know, sadly. Haley.
Neither would I. Like, we'd both be. I think we'd be third class. I don't think we'd be tailies, because those are like.
Class.
I think we'd be third class. I think we'd be like sanitation workers.
I'll take that.
I think through our own kind of devious means, we'd probably kill a couple of people and make our way up to like the Terrence kind of scope of like being like the underling of the Kingpin, maybe.
Or
I don't know.
Do a till and just start dating someone in second class.
Oh yeah, now you're talking, baby.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to start going for the list of the second class passengers. Just.
So yeah, I think you're right in the effect, that the kind of the end of this will be that like Melanie is kind of put up against the corner, and she will unveil Wilford, and he'll come out Sean Bean and whatnot. But in the next episode,
who knows? That's what's if I'm honest,
it's really weird of where it's going. I think Layton is. We saw him kind of coming out of his stupor, if you will, in this episode. So I think it will be heavily on him again. Do we trust Zara? Not so much.
I think we're going to have a big part of the plot for the next episode will be, why are all these guys in the drawers? Because obviously Josie found people who she clearly thought were dead in the drawers. Why was Layton put in the drawers? So the fact that all these people are in the drawers who they didn't expect to be in the drawers is going to be the big, I think, from that kind of plot perspective, from the tail and from Josie and Layton. It's a big focus on that. Is like what's going on? Why are they putting them in the drawers?
And what does LJ really know? Like, what's her? There's a reason why Melanie kept her. I think she knows a lot more than she's leading on to. But I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's interesting. I think they'll Melanie and Layton will come to blows in the next episode. I think there'll be a lot of confrontation going on.
Do you reckon there'll be a fight
between Melanie and Layton?
That's what you just said. You reckon they'll come to blows?
Oh, I think, he's quite hot-headed. Like we've established that he's a bit of a hot-headed sort of like character, and he was drugged by her. So I think he will want to, exact some type of, if not revenge, then some type of vindication. Whether that happens or not, don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. The big question is just exactly what Josie asked herself. Why did they keep him alive? Or was it Terrence who actually said it was Terrence, wasn't it? One of the characters definitely says, why didn't they just stick his head out?
Yeah, why didn't they just kill him?
And just kill him?
Terrence, yeah, he was very kind of pragmatic about the whole thing. He was like,
keep Layton alive, Maybe they're using the humans as fuel. Who knows?
You could be right. I think there is maybe something going on with the people that are put into the Demolition Man Sleepy Time drawers.
Oh, do you know what, Tony? Right, and I know we both said in a previous episode that we wouldn't watch the movie before the season is. I watched the movie, and I know you've
Snowpiercer. Yeah.
Okay, this is like to anybody who listens to this who hasn't seen the movie.
Are you now going into spoiler territory for the movie?
Yeah, I have to. Okay. But don't listen, because there's going to be a slight spoiler for the movie. It's not, if I'm honest, it's not a major spoiler for the movie. But if you really don't want to know anything, tune out now.
Turn off.
In the movie, Connolly, we find out at the end of the movie, is highly explosive.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They're pumping all these guys full of Connolly.
Yeah.
What?
Ah, so you think there might be some, like coal?
Yeah. If we literally fill their bodies with Connolly, they're going to have a lot more effect when we burn them for fuel than if they're just human flesh.
Wow, that's a dark, dark sentiment there, Brendan. I like it.
I remember I had this concept that we were going somewhere really fucking dark.
You could be right.
I'm convinced. I'm convinced of it now. They're literally just packing their bodies full of Connolly to fuel the train.
Ooh. Well, guys and girls, let us know what you think. Join us on Inside Your Screen on Twitter, Inside Your Screen. That's with Inside You Are Screen. You can also catch us on Spotify and iTunes. And join us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe, push the little bell, hit that little ding, and then get involved with all TV shows, films, and games.
You got there in the end, Tony.
Got there in the end. I'll try. I might try that again. Actually, I can cut the thing. We'll see. I don't know.
Nah, let's just leave it there.
All right, guys. Goodbye.
Inside your